Hey everyone, wanted to record a video here about why is it so important to understand your TAM, how to size it, as well as different outreach strategies if you have a small TAM or a large TAM. Now, first of all, you must understand your market size, otherwise you will misallocate your resources, your revenue forecasting will be inaccurate, your GTM strategy will be ineffective. A poorly defined market can lead to very ineffective go-to-market strategies, including targeting the wrong persona customer segments, as well as inefficient and ineffective channels to do so. You'll also have product market fit issues. You might develop a product that doesn't meet the most lucrative market customer segments, and as a result, you'll experience poor product adoption, high churn rates, negative customer feedback, etc. Now, your company will not be competitive or as competitive if you fail to define your market size and your customer segments. You'll have other companies, other entrants in the market who will do a better job, and you will just end up losing your market share. They'll be able to create better products, implement better pricing strategies, as well as implement more effective sales and marketing channels. Before we get into that, let's get into what is actually TAM, SAM, and SOM. So TAM is the total addressable market, which refers to the total number of companies that demand your product or service. It's the maximum amount of revenue a business can generate by selling this product to a specific market segment. Now, serviceable addressable market is calculated based on the market segment you're feasibly able to actually capture given different parameters, market stage, product stage, etc. And serviceable attainable market is essentially measuring the additional revenue you are able to capture on a year-by-year basis. This is a calculation that's taken from your previous year's revenue and projected onto the next. We must also look at the adoption curve to better understand our markets and how to size them, because in the adoption curves, you've got the early market, you've got the mainstream market. You've got the early adopters, innovators, you've got the chasm, early majority, late majority, and laggards. Where you are in this market, where your customers are in this market, will heavily depend and influence the number of companies you can actually reach out to, the number of customers and prospects you can actually reach out to physically, feasibly, in your first year or second year or as you're growing. Now, why do we actually look at the product and user adoption curve? Now, it's very simple. Like I said, number one, you need to understand the stage of the market sophistication and understand the realistic percentage of the market that you're able to address and potentially capture given the market sophistication stage. For example, your product A can offer a solution to an existing problem where people and businesses are already in the market for a solution. In this case, the serviceable addressable market will be larger. Or you can have a product B where it's an early stage company, it's an early stage market, the solution and problem are not that widespread. In this case, you'll only likely be targeting up to 15% of the TAM. Again, the early adopters. Now, why is this also very important is that if you haven't read Eugene Schwartz's Breakthrough Advertising, you really should, because he is the one who explains these 5 levels of market sophistication, basically meaning that the amount of messaging, education, and differentiation you need to do depends on how many competitors are in the market, and depends how well your customers are educated about the existing problem and the existing solutions and mechanisms on the market. As the market becomes more saturated and more competitive, you accelerate and jump from level to level, and each level requires a brand new approach in messaging, in niching down in the mechanism. That's essentially what he defined with these 5 levels of market sophistication. Now, you need to also define your target audience or ICP, and this is done on the company level and on the persona level. Company level, very simple: number of employees, size of company, industry, location, business model, ownership structure. You need to understand behavioral characteristics, the frequency and volume of purchases, how your customers interact with your product or service, technology stack, if that's relevant to your product, how does your product or service fit into their environment, detailed personas. You need to understand who are the titles, roles, who are the decision makers, who are the influencers, stakeholders in the purchasing process. After you have that, you need to understand what are the events or circumstances that prompt them to seek out your product or service. What are any trigger signals, intense signals? What can those be in the market? Is it a new fundraising round? Is it that they're hiring for expansion, hiring for certain positions, etc., etc.? This can be defined on the company level, and there are hundreds of signals that you can be looking at to craft your messaging accordingly. You need to understand the pain points and the needs of these customer segments and personas on the company level and on the personal level. You need to understand what are their business objectives on the personal level and company level, what are the obstacles they face in achieving those goals in their line of work, and how does your product or service help them overcome these challenges. Then you need to move into the most interesting thing, is the sizing up the TAM. Now, the problem with sizing up your TAM is that online business intelligence databases are very fragmented. We use a number of different sources such as SICK and NAICS codes, list brokers, Dun & Bradstreet, Apollo, and similar products to Apollo to actually calculate and estimate the size of our TAM. The problem with that is that you need to take the data from each one of these sources with a pinch of salt and create your own unified list, because SICK and NAICS codes, they'll likely give you 20 to 30% of defunct companies on the list. Their lists are also very expensive. If you go directly to source, it can help you estimate the number of companies on high level, but you can't really get much, let's say, usable data from that. And companies might also have multiple SICK and NAICS codes depending on their activities and business activities. Now, you need to take all of these data sources with a pinch of salt, because SICK and NAICS codes, they'll give you just a high level information about the number of companies, and if you buy the list of companies directly from the source, first of all, they're going to be very expensive, and you'll see anywhere between 20 to 30% of companies are going to be defunct. And you need to also make sure to remember that companies might also have multiple SICK and NAICS codes, so you might have to dedupe your lists. List brokers will give you a lot of information, sometimes not verified emails, most of the time not verified emails, company names and domains, and about, again, 10 to 40% of that data will be redundant. Again, companies out of business, websites broken, etc. Dun & Bradstreet is a good source. It actually gives you data based on NAICS codes, but on the database, you will need a scraper or an expensive subscription with DNB database. Now, you can actually scrape it and segment the list by revenue, because it does give you the revenue numbers, and then further enrich that list. And it serves as a good point to build in your list of companies for your entire TAM before you go and enrich your list with contacts. Apollo and other similar products to Apollo have data accuracy. We still use them, but the main problem is that their filter system is not very, very good, and you end up manually filtering and vetting all the companies by hand. So you have to have someone on staff to do that. If you add keywords, if you add negative keywords, at the end of the day, you still need to do this work manually, because otherwise you'll create lists that are just pure garbage. Once you have that data, again, you can enrich that with waterfall and clay or enrichment, and use products like Datagma, Prospeo, Find Email to get the contact data. So let's see how we actually do this on an example. This is actually an example we did for one of our clients in the property management space. This is the approach that we actually use. So we got a number of property management companies across United States from different sources, by SICK codes, NAICS codes, Apollo, Smart Scrapers, and DNB database. And then we see a very large, spread. So what do we do with this? We usually estimate, the median number of companies. In this case, we can safely say that there are 25 to 45,000 companies. from which we can mine between 1 to 5 decision makers for the purpose of outreach, campaigns, LinkedIn, email, and calling should we resort to that. How do we actually calculate the market? If we have this estimate between 25 and 45,000 companies, we would then go into Apollo to give us a rough number of companies by size, right? Which will also correspond with the number of companies in our ICP, and from which we can also calculate our serviceable addressable market. So let's have a look. We've got a range of employees from 1 to 10,000 plus. We got a number of companies here on the right, which gives us a table that looks something like this. Given the hypothetical annual contract value of 2,005 and all the way up to 50,000 for various segments depending on the employee range, we can just multiply the number of companies by ACV to give us a total market value in terms of potential annual revenue, which across all segments for the purpose of this exercise is about 73.1 million, give or take, right? Again, just a hypothetical exercise. How do we actually calculate the serviceable addressable market? Now, let's say we are in an early stage startup, early stage product, very new. So it's likely that we're going to be targeting 10 to 15% of the customer curve, which are the innovators, early adopters, and let's say we're targeting a segment of 1 to 50 employees, right? So how will we calculate our TAM based on that to kind of give an understanding of what can we even expect to fight for from a revenue perspective, revenue standpoint. So let's say we have the 1 to 50 market segment, 1 to 50 employees market segment. We've got 25,000 companies in this market segment, and we take 10% of the early adoptions from this, which gives us 2,500 companies we can, feasibly fight for, which are potentially early innovators, adopters, keen to testing technologies. Annual contract value for this segment is $2,000 a year. Market value is $5 million. We multiply 2.5 times 2,500 by $2,000. We get 5 million. Now, what you really should be aware of is the size of your market. Is it a big market or a small market? Large TAM, big TAM. A TAM that is small, we typically classify that between 3 to 5,000 companies. And these can be typically enterprise level companies as well. However, you do have a limited growth potential. You do have a market saturation risk. It's much higher because you're probably dealing with a small number of competitors on the market as well. You got less of a competitive advantage. You might have difficulty in attracting investment unless your product is 10x what's on the market right now. You've got revenue concentration risk. You've got limited economies of scale, resource allocation challenges as well, limited market influence. But you can also mitigate with some of the strategies. You can expand into adjacent markets. You can diversify your products. You can go deeper into your niche dominance, and you can also seek for strategic partnerships. However, you are likely to be in kind of a world of hurt if your product is not 10x, if there are also a significant market shares that are captured by existing companies, existing competitors. It might be difficult to scale unless you're obviously in a space where your products sell for, services sell for, $1 million plus on an annual basis. Then obviously you just need a handful of clients to create a large company. Now, the advantages of a large TAM, they are kind of the inverse of the disadvantages of a small TAM. So you've got a significant growth potential, and a large TAM, by the way, is we classify it as anywhere between 30,000 to 100,000 plus companies. It could be 1 million companies. And you've got a significant growth potential, got economies of scale, diversification opportunities in your product and TAM and segments. You got enhanced market influence. You have an easier time attracting investment. You're more resilient to market changes. You can pivot quickly as well. You also seem to have higher valuations because the market is so large. The potential for roll-ups, mergers, and acquisitions is very big. You also have no problem attracting talent and retaining talent if you have a competitive product and a large market. Strategic flexibility, more points of expansion and diversification of your products and services, And you also have improved customer insights because you've got so much more data on the market. If we are comparing outreach strategies for small and large TAMs, we typically right now just compare for the purposes of this exercise, outreach strategies with ABM, cold email, LinkedIn, cold calling, physical mail. We also look at the lead mining and social selling. Here in the table, we kind of discuss um, how the approaches for each of these strategies differ depending on the size of your market. So how does ABM work for small TAM versus large TAM? Yes, you can do it in both. In a large TAM, you probably only focus on the enterprise level clients. Cold email, very difficult to do in a small TAM. You'll exhaust your market within a week or maybe a month, give it at that if you're sending at volume. Large TAM, you might not even have this problem of ever exhausting your list when you're reaching out to 10, 20, maybe even 30,000 contacts on a monthly basis. If you're going global, if there are a million companies or even 100,000 companies, you will likely to never have a problem of running out of leads to reach out to. LinkedIn, you got to do in both cases. You got to have your thought leadership running, thought leadership ads. You can do start one-on-one conversations. With larger TAMs, you can use multiple accounts to have a better reach and a larger reach. And you can also, in a larger market, much easier supplement your LinkedIn outreach with email, with warm calling as well. And it's very easy to arrange and synchronize those two touch points in a larger TAM because again, you have so much data, you can constantly iterate, change tactics, change offers to see what sticks, and then scale based on that. Cold calling, small market might be very hard as well. You might burn your leads. Large market, large TAM, hire SDRs, do outbound and parallel dialers parallel to your email and LinkedIn. Physical mail, smaller market might make more sense. In larger market, you probably will reserve physical mail gifts, whatever you want to send to maybe top 100, top 200, 300 accounts, and really create an ABM strategy around that tier of clients. Lead mining, um, very similar to both. You'll probably run out of leads again and find lead mining much more costly on a smaller scale than on a larger scale, because on a smaller scale, you probably will be requesting more additional data points than on a larger scale. And social selling should be done in any instance. You gotta build your brand on LinkedIn, on social media, to build your authority, to build the trust with your clients, prospective clients, to be able to close them and shorten the sales cycles as well. Now, the small TAM is a kind of a curse and a blessing. Yes, they are problematic to work with, and they can be very hard to crack the revenue, and you'll reach the revenue ceiling very quickly. However, there are ways of you can use the small TAM as an advantage. You can dominate the niche. You can sell to a strategic buyer. You can go on an M&A spree and just consolidate the market under your control and eliminating any other entrants or competitors, and then play around with pricing and then retention strategies. You can also foster greater customer loyalty, and you might also be able to get a better understanding of your customer needs and what exactly you need to do in terms of your next product development and the evolution of your company. Just wanted to kind of wrap this up, just to tell a few things about us, who we are. We are an outbound GTM agency. We work with cold email and LinkedIn outreach. Sometimes we do also warm calling for our clients. And we specialize in working with businesses, B2B businesses, startups, and scale ups in the product space, SaaS space, service space, where we aim to deliver on the lower end 20 to 30 plus opportunities on a monthly basis. We work with a number of clients, still work with all of these clients, and we delivered opportunities for them with companies like Remax, Concord Pacific, Brooks Brothers, D.R. Horton, PCL, City of Toronto, some of the biggest breweries in Canada, and many more companies. In terms of the track record, you can see we got some screenshots here. B2B SaaS startup in Canada, booking 30 plus calls a month. You see replies and positive replies. Most of the positive replies went into calls. We also do deal sourcing for M&A, which is a very interesting segment indeed. Another example here of a B2B merchandising company, 60 plus leads in about 60 days. And here's a screenshot of a campaign we ran for a construction tech company. And you can see when your data, your messaging is dialed in, you understand your TAM. These are sort of similar results you can expect. Let me know what you think. Let me know with your comments below this video. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, just put some comments below the post, and I'll see you in the next one.